he took him prisoner. He took the king prisoner, Jehoiachin. And he carried out from there all the treasures of the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house, and he cut in pieces all the articles of gold which Solomon the king of Israel had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. Also he carried into captivity all Jerusalem, all the captains, all the mighty men of valor, 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained except the poorest people of the land. And he carried Jehoiachin captive to Babylon, the king's mother, the king's wives, his officers, the mighty of the land he carried into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. All the valiant men, 7,000, and craftsmen and smiths, 1,000, all who were strong and fit for war, these the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. Then the king of Babylon made Mattaniah, Jehoiachin's uncle, who would be Josiah's son. So we've got 3 sons of Josiah end up being kings after Josiah. King of Babylon made him king, Jehoiachin's uncle, king in his place, and changed his name to Zedekiah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he also did evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For because of the anger of the Lord, this happened in Jerusalem and Judah, that he finally cast them out from his presence. Then Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. Now it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, on the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and his army came against Jerusalem and encamped against it, and they built a siege wall against it all around. This is the 3rd time Nebuchadnezzar is coming to Jerusalem. First time he just walked in and said, hey, I'm in charge, pay me taxes, I'm going to take a few trinkets out of your temple. Second time he comes through and he says, okay, that's it. Jehoiachin, you're coming with me and all of your family and every mighty person here. I've already gotten a few of the nobles there like Daniel and the other guys. We've got them there. This time we're taking 10,000 of you out of the city of Jerusalem. We're taking everybody who's smart. We're taking everybody who knows how to do anything. We're taking all of the king's family, and we're taking you, and we're taking all the gold and silver out of the temple, and we're going. So that has happened. But now Zedekiah, during his 11 years, in the 9th year, he decided that he was going to fight against Babylon. Now, if you go and you read the book of Jeremiah, what you will find is, over and over again, Zedekiah kept thinking that he could align himself with Egypt and the two of them could fight against Babylon and win. And again and again and again and again, Jeremiah said, don't do it. Don't do it. You will be fighting against the will of God. You keep talking about you're leaning on Egypt as on a bruised reed, and what it will do is it will pierce your hand. Interesting stories out of Jeremiah. Fills in a lot of the details of what was going on here. By the 9th day, verse 3, by the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine had become so severe in the city that there was no food for the people of the land. Then the city wall was broken through, and all the men of war fled at night by way of the gate between 2 walls, which was by the king's garden, even though the Chaldeans were still encamped all around against the city, and the king went out by the way of the plain. Now you go, now wait a minute. How stupid were the Babylonians? If they had the place surrounded, how could these guys get out through? Well, actually, when it says besieged, what they would do is they would build a big earthen mound that would, and then build a tower on top of that, in order to be able to be fighting against the people in the city at the same elevation, to be able to fight against the guys on the wall right at their level. Otherwise, they're fighting like this, shooting arrows up like this, and it's hitting the wall. They just kind of duck. But now it puts them up. So they weren't necessarily, when it says encamped all around, it doesn't mean they had the place surrounded, like the police in the old movies and stuff. You're surrounded, give yourself up. But they were cutting off food coming in. They were cutting off transportation coming in and out. But the king and his people were able to slip out. But, verse 5, the army of the Chaldeans pursued the king. They overtook him in the plains of Jericho. All his army was scattered from him. Then they killed the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, then put out the eyes of Zedekiah, bound him with bronze fetters, and took him to Babylon. So the last image he would have in his mind was his sons being murdered. And in the 5th month, on the 7th day of the month, which was the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem. He burned the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem. That is, all the houses of the great he burned with fire. So a few of the shacks were left, but all the temple, all of the great houses burned to the ground. Just as Jeremiah had said to the people coming into the temple who were just putting in their time going to temple, but hadn't had changed hearts. In Jeremiah chapter 7, he said, "Why are you coming here? Why are you coming here? Don't say the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. We'll be safe here. You've made it into a den of thieves. You've made it into a hideout for robbers. You go out and live a life of sin, and you come into church and go, well, this is great. I know the Lord, so I'm safe from all the bad things I've been doing in my life. Yeah, I know I still do drugs. Yeah, I know I'm living with my girlfriend. Yeah, I know I've been cheating on my taxes for 20 years. But I go to church every Sunday." That's what they were doing, and Jeremiah called them on it. But they believed that there was no way God would let his temple be destroyed. But there was no way that the Jews could keep the temple from being destroyed. God had determined it. Jeremiah said there in Jeremiah 7 as well, he said, "You think this can't happen? Go look at what I did to Shiloh." Shiloh is where the tabernacle was for quite some time, and God destroyed it because of the sins of the people. And he said to them, "Look, I did it before. I will do it again. I will do it again." Verse 10, "And all the army of the Chaldeans who were with the captain of the guard broke down the walls of Jerusalem all around." They destroyed all of the walls of Jerusalem. "And Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried away captive the rest of the people who remained in the city, and the defectors who had deserted to the king of Babylon with the rest of the multitude. But the captain of the guard left some of the poor of the land as vine dressers and farmers. The bronze pillars that were in the house of the Lord, and the carts and the bronze sea that were in the house of the Lord, the Chaldeans broke in pieces and carried their bronze to Babylon." So now they took everything. Before they took the gold and silver, now they're taking anything metal. They're cutting it up and they're carting it off. They're leaving nothing of the temple. They also took away the pots, the shovels, the trimmers, the spoons, all the bronze utensils with which the priests ministered. The fire pans, the basins, the things of solid gold and solid silver, the captain of the guard took away. These are the things of solid gold and solid silver, the little instruments and so forth that the priests used for cleaning up and caring for things, not the big gold and silver that he had taken previously. The 2 pillars, 1 sea, and the carts which Solomon had made for the house of the Lord, the bronze of all these articles was beyond measure. The height of 1 pillar was 18 cubits. A cubit was a foot and a half. So 18 plus 9, you do the math, 27 feet high. It's pretty big. And the capital on it was of bronze. And the height of the capital was 3 cubits. And the network and the pomegranates all around the capital were all of bronze. The 2nd pillar was the same with a network. The captain of the guard took Sariah, the chief priest, Zephaniah, the 2nd priest, and 3 doorkeepers. And he took out of the city an officer who was in charge of the men of war, 5 men of the king's close associates who were found in the city, the chief recruiting officer of the army, who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land who were found in the city. And he took these and brought them to the king of Babylon in Riblah. And the king of Babylon struck them, put them to death at Riblah in the land of Hamath. Thus Judah was carried away captive from its own land. Now the rest of the chapter tells us that the governor that Nebuchadnezzar put in charge there, Gedaliah, he was made governor, and then there was a plot, and people of the land killed him from Ammon, people from Ammon.